Free Guy. So Free Guy is a film about a video game character that realizes he is in a video game and that he is an NPC, which is a non-playable character. You can see it as a bit like The Truman Show, which is obviously about someone who realizes they're in like a TV show. But our character, played by Ryan Reynolds, realizes his situation and starts to sort of affect things within the game, which is noticed by real-life players who are playing the game, as well as the developers of the game. Obviously, with a film like this, it's going to be all about video game references, and there is a lot of that in there. So if you're someone who, is a regular player of video games, you're going to understand the references and you're going to find it funny, and that's who it's kind of going to be the most effective for, is people that, play games. I found it funny. I understood references and, things that we can relate to as people that play games. And, that's where the humor's at. And, it's a good film to make for that sort of thing, because there's not a whole lot of games like that. Like there've been video game movies, but this is a movie about actually playing video games. And the game itself was kind of your cliche game, sort of your typical open world shoot 'em up, steal cars, bit of a Grand Theft Auto type vibe. So it's going to appeal and be understandable to everyone. Now, I didn't know too much about the plot going into it, just like that small premise that it's about someone in a video game that discovers they're in a video game. So I was kind of surprised by the route it took, in terms of it explored more into the whole idea of AI becoming self-conscious and realizing what they are. Bit of an, Ex Machina type thing. But, unlike Ex Machina or, say, the Alien movies, or what's another one, Terminator, you don't actually get that whole thing where it's like, oh my god, an AI's discovered who they are, they're going to try and end humanity. Like, it's just a case of, oh, wow, that's kind of cool, and AI has discovered who they are. But it's not like some world-ending moment. It's like a more confined story that's, it's a big deal for some, but it's not like a big world threat. And Ryan Reynolds played the part really, really well. You know what you get from Ryan. You're going to get a funny performance. He's a very good actor when it comes to comedy, as we've seen with Deadpool and other stuff he's done. He was, the perfect guy for this movie. I'm not sure who else could really maybe do it as well as he could, because he's just, he's very charismatic, Ryan Reynolds, and he was perfect for this. And the supporting cast was pretty good as well. You had Lil Rel Howery, I think I'm saying that right, and you had Taika Waititi. They were both great in terms of supporting cast, very, very funny. And you also had some funny little cameos there as well, some more obvious than others, but you had like Channing Tatum, Chris Evans, and I think Hugh Jackman was snuck in there as well. These cameos were funny. It was nice. It just seemed like obviously Ryan Reynolds, he's a very likable guy. I'm sure he's friends with a lot of these people in the industry. I know him and Hugh Jackman are. So it's probably just a case of, hey, come in, make a little appearance in the movie, which was cool to see. I liked the fact that they did that. Now, on top of this, the film also incorporated well-known YouTubers who were playing like themselves, playing the game that Ryan Reynolds is in. So you had people like Jacksepticeye, Pokimane. There were others in there, but those were the two I recognized. And I understand why they did this. I mean, it was kind of cringy when it happens, but it's funny because it's cringy, if you know what I mean. Like it didn't bother me or anything. It was kind of like, hey, there's Jacksepticeye. Hey, there's Pokimane. But I mean, they kind of brought him back a few times throughout the movies, and it's just like, in your seat, you're a little bit like, little bit cringe, but, it did no harm, so it was fine. But whilst that wasn't like, bad cringe, there was some slightly cringe in terms of like a romance that they added into the plot that I didn't really feel was that necessary, and it wasn't like the main romance. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like the romance that they add near the end, and I was just a bit like, ugh, was that really necessary? Like I didn't feel like it was necessary. Okay, I just thought, ugh, the movie was kind of going on a nice high here, and then they thrown that in there. It's just like, come on, leave that. And I think with this movie is, they didn't end up spending as much time with Ryan Reynolds in his video game world as I thought they were gonna. They actually split back and forth between Ryan Reynolds' world and the real world, and what's going on in the real world is it's to do with the developers who made the game, who are like, what's going on in our video game? Why is this NPC like doing his own thing, and it's messing up the game for other people? And whilst I understand this was necessary for the plot to bounce back and forth, I didn't find the characters on the outside world that interesting, apart from Taika Waititi. So, I kind of just wanted to spend more time in the world with Ryan Reynolds, because that's where all the fun was, and he was the most enjoyable part of the movie, and I wanted to spend more time in that world, and I think the split was a bit off. It kind of felt like 60-40, 60 in favor of Ryan, but I think it needed be a bit more like 80-20 split, like majority of the time with Ryan, little, outings to the outside world just to show what's going on. And, 20% cut it is pretty good. He's still spending enough time to develop the plot from, you know, the real world. And I just think, you know, more time with Ryan was needed in, you know, the video game world, which is more fun because it's a world we haven't seen before. So I feel like you have to spend more time in there. Like, we see enough of the real world in every other movie, so why not spend majority of the time in this video game world? And on top of this, Ryan Reynolds' realization of him becoming a video game character, or him being a video game character, was quite quick, pretty early on in the movie, and I thought they could have taken more time with it, like sort of shown us the world of the video game a bit more before things changed. You know, like spend more time in this game just before Ryan realized what was going on. You know, and then you kind of get a nice little developing story in the world, but they kind of just wanted to get the ball rolling, and once they did that, that's when they started cutting out to the real world. And that just, yeah, you know, I just wanted to spend more time in this video game world, and I think they really should have based like the majority of the story in there. But of course, when you do that, you have to alter the plot, and you know, the plot they were going for in the story, they kind of had to do that. They had to get it moving quick so they could spend like a certain amount of time in the video game and the real world. So I understand why it had to be done, but maybe, you know, the plot is altered slightly so that you can spend more time in this video game world. You know, I just wanted to see more of Ryan Reynolds doing fun and crazy shit in this world, because that was the most, you know, exciting and funny parts of the movie was spending time with him in this crazy video game world. I thought it was awesome. But you know, this at the end of the day is a fun movie, and we know what sort of movie it's going to be. I had a good time with it, and you know, I had some good laughs in there. So did my friend. We both went to watch it. But me being a critic, I have to say that I just think certain things could have been done different. I think the balance between real world and video game was, as I've said several times, was a bit, you know, a bit too even, and I just think they could have altered some little things, some little tweaks in the story just to make it a bit more fun, and you know, spend more time with the better parts of the movie rather than, you know, the not so interesting parts. Because whenever we went to the outside world, all I was thinking was, I want to get back in the video game with Ryan Reynolds. This is a cool concept though, and it was pretty well executed, and it was certainly something different. Like I haven't seen a movie like this before. I mean, obviously you had the Truman Show. I haven't seen that movie. I just know about it. I know the concept, but I feel like this is pretty very different to that in terms of the way it was executed. But you know, I had a good time with this movie, and for me, Free Guy gets a 7 out of 10. This is a fun movie. It's definitely worth watching if you're into games and you're gonna understand the humor. You know, you're gonna find funny moments in it. You know, the cameos were cool, the cast were cool. It is funny, and you know, it's a good movie to go and watch. It's nice to see the cinema back in full flow again. You know, we're getting some good movies coming out, and we've got a lot to look forward to before the end of the year. So yeah, it's looking pretty good. Thank you all very much for watching. That was my review of Free Guy. If you've seen it, let me know what you think about it, and yeah, see you in the next one. Bye bye.